The smell hits you before anything else. Acetone. Ammonia. Something that burns the inside of your nose and makes your eyes water before you even step through the door. You're standing in a chicken farm outside Culiacan, 37 degrees in the shade, and the man next to you says, "This is where you'll be working from now on." Not with chickens, with chemistry. You're 23 years old. You studied 2 semesters of chemical engineering at the Universidad Autónoma de Sinaloa before the money ran out. Your mother cleans houses in a gated community where the narcos live. Your father drove a taxi until he didn't anymore. Heart attack at 51, behind the wheel, crashed into a taco stand. Nobody got hurt except him. The funeral cost more than everything he left behind. The recruiter found you at a cantina. He didn't look like what you expected. No gold chains. No cowboy boots. He wore a polo shirt and glasses. Looked like an accountant. He asked if you knew organic chemistry. You said enough. He asked if you needed money. You laughed. Everyone needs money. He slid a napkin across the bar with a number written on it. 15,000 pesos a week. More than your mother makes in 2 months. You're supposed to say no. You're supposed to walk away. You fold the napkin and put it in your pocket. The first day is orientation. Not the corporate kind with PowerPoints and free coffee. A man named El Químico walks you through the operation. He's 50-something, missing 2 fingers on his left hand, and he speaks with the calm authority of a college professor. "This isn't some amateur operation cooking crystal in a trailer," he explains. "This is industrial scale. You're producing methamphetamine for a market that stretches from Tijuana to Tokyo. The lab is hidden beneath the chicken coops. Concrete bunker. Ventilation system that would make a hospital jealous. Climate control, emergency exits, fire suppression. They've thought of everything except what happens if you breathe this air for 10 hours a day. El Químico hands you a respirator, military grade. "Wear it," he says, "or in 6 months you'll be coughing blood." He shows you his fingers, the missing ones. That's what happens when you get careless with the red phosphorus. 1 spark. That's all it takes. Your first week is observation only. You watch the process from start to finish. Pseudoephedrine arrives in 50-gallon drums labeled as agricultural solvent. The precursors come from China, shipped through shell companies in Panama and Guatemala. Everything is documented in coded ledgers. Weight in, weight out, purity levels, batch numbers. This operation moves $12 million of product every month. Your job is to keep that pipeline flowing. The chemistry itself is elegant. That's the part nobody tells you. There's a certain beauty in the molecular dance. Reduction reactions, crystallization, purification. If you did this in a university lab, they'd call you a scientist. Here, they call you a cook. Same knowledge, different application. By month 2, you're running your own station. 4 assistants work under you. They're younger, hungrier, less educated. They mix the batches according to your instructions. You handle the delicate parts. The timing. The temperatures. The ratios that mean the difference between pure crystal and worthless garbage. Purity is everything. El Químico tests every batch personally. 96% or higher, or it gets rejected. Rejected products doesn't get thrown away. It gets traced back to whoever made it. And traced means more than a bad performance review. You develop routines. Wake up at 5. Arrive at the farm by 6. Work until 4 in the afternoon. Shower in the decontamination room. Change into clean clothes. Drive home through back roads that aren't on any GPS. Eat dinner with your mother. Tell her you're working in agricultural supply. She doesn't ask questions. She sees the money. New refrigerator, fixed roof, paid medical bills. She knows. But knowing and asking are different things. The money changes everything and nothing. You're earning more than you ever imagined, but you can't spend it visibly. No new cars, no fancy clothes, no vacations. The organization has rules about conspicuous consumption. Draw attention and you become a liability. Liabilities get solved. After 6 months, you've saved enough to buy a small house. You put it in your cousin's name. He doesn't know why. You tell him it's a tax thing. He believes you because he wants to believe you. Everyone around you is building a careful architecture of denial. The first death happens on a Tuesday. One of your assistants, a kid named Miguel, who couldn't have been older than 19, Mix the wrong compounds. The explosion wasn't large, just a flash and a scream. By the time you reached him, the chemical burns had already done their work. His face looked like melted plastic. They drove him to a clinic that doesn't ask questions, run by a doctor who traded his ethics for protection money years ago. Miguel survived, but he'll never look human again. The organization paid his family 50,000 pesos. Blood money wrapped in good intentions. They told you it was the cost of business. You went home that night and stared at the ceiling until morning. Then you went back to work. What else were you going to do? The hierarchy becomes clearer the longer you stay. El Químico reports to a man called El Ingeniero, who runs all the production facilities in the state. El Ingeniero reports to someone whose name you're not allowed to know. Above that, there are ghosts, men who exist only as rumors and orders that filter down through layers of insulation. You're valuable because you're skilled. But valuable is a double-edged word. They need you, which means they watch you. Every phone call, every movement, every friendship. The organization assigns you a shadow, a quiet man who drives you to work and follows at a distance when you're home. He's polite, professional. He'd put a bullet in your head if ordered to and probably apologize to your mother afterward. Month 8 brings a promotion. El Químico is retiring. That's the word they use. Retiring. You don't ask what it really means. You inherit his position, head of production for the entire facility. Your salary doubles. So does your responsibility. And your risk. Now you manage 15 people. You control inventory worth millions. You sign off on every batch that leaves the compound. Your signature, your guarantee. If something goes wrong downstream, if the product is impure, if a shipment gets intercepted, the questions come to you. The Americans are a constant concern. Their DEA has informants everywhere. The organization runs counterintelligence like a small nation. Loyalty tests, surveillance. Occasional disappearances of people who asked too many questions or took phone calls in private. You learn to assume you're always being watched. It makes you better at your job. Paranoia as performance enhancement. You discover skills you didn't know you had. Management, logistics, human resources of a kind. When one of your workers starts using the product, you recognize the signs immediately. The weight loss, the twitchy movements, the declining output. You report it up the chain, the worker vanishes. You don't ask where. The line between participant and victim blurs until you can't see it anymore. You're making poison. You know this. Crystal meth destroys families, melts teeth, hollows out communities from Fresno to Phoenix to Tokyo. Somewhere, right now, someone is smoking what you made and ruining their life. But knowing and feeling are different things. You've built calluses on your conscience. Professional distance. It's just chemistry. 18 months in, you're one of the most senior cooks in the region. You've trained 24 assistants. You've improved production efficiency by 30%. You've developed new synthesis methods that reduce the precursor requirements and increase purity. You're good at this. Maybe the best they've ever had. El Ingeniero starts taking you to meetings, strategy sessions in safe houses. You sit at tables with men who control territories, who negotiate with governments, who've ordered deaths and never lost sleep. They talk about you like you're an asset, a resource, their pet chemist. The money has piled up. You've hidden it in the walls of that house your cousin owns. 400,000 pesos in cash, another 200,000 in gold coins. Enough to disappear. But disappearing isn't really an option. You know too much. You've seen too many faces. The organization doesn't have alumni. It has employees and corpses. Your mother gets sick, kidney failure. She needs dialysis 3 times a week and eventually a transplant. You can afford the best doctors. You can afford private clinics. You can afford everything except honesty. She knows where the money comes from now. She stopped pretending not to. She takes it anyway because the alternative is dying. Love and complicity tangled together like the molecules you manipulate every day. Year 2. The government launches a crackdown. Marines raid facilities across the state. 3 labs go down in a single week. Dozens arrested. A few killed in the shootouts. Your facility survives because someone in the military is on payroll, but the pressure doesn't stop. Production continues, but the atmosphere changes. Everyone is tense. The shadows get longer. The organization starts demanding more output, faster turnarounds, higher risks. They're making up for lost capacity by squeezing what remains. You work 16-hour days. The respirator leaves marks on your face. Your dreams smell like solvent. One of your workers tries to leave. He asks for a transfer to a legitimate job, wants to go straight, wants to raise his kid without looking over his shoulder. They find him floating in a drainage ditch 3 days later. The message is clear. The only way out is up, and up means becoming indispensable. Or becoming the kind of person who orders bodies dumped in drainage ditches. You're not that person. At least you tell yourself you're not. You just make the product. You don't pull triggers. You don't sign death warrants. You're a technician, a specialist. Your hands are clean. Your hands are stained with chemicals that cause cancer, but they're metaphorically clean. That's what you tell yourself at 3 in the morning when you can't sleep. Year 3 brings opportunity disguised as disaster. El Ingeniero gets arrested in a sting operation. Someone talked. The organization responds with blood. But they also need a replacement. Someone who understands production. Someone who can keep the machine running. They choose you. Now you're attending different meetings. Higher stakes. Bigger decisions. You oversee 6 facilities instead of 1. You control a budget that would make a mid-sized corporation jealous. You travel in armored vehicles with armed escorts. You've become exactly what you swore you'd never become. The end doesn't come with sirens or explosions. It comes quietly, the way most endings do. You're having coffee in a cafe in Mazatlan, reviewing reports, when a woman sits at the next table. She doesn't look at you, but she leaves a napkin behind when she goes. On it, a name. Your name. And a date. 3 months from now. Someone inside the organization has marked you. Maybe you know too much. Maybe you're too expensive. Maybe someone younger wants your job. It doesn't matter. What matters is the countdown that just started in your head. You have options. You can run. They'll find you eventually, but eventually might mean years. You can go to the authorities. Trade everything you know for protection. Spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder in a new city with a new name. Or you can solve the problem the way the organization would. Find out who marked you. Deal with them first. You think about the kid you were, 23 years old, drinking in a cantina, dreaming about paying off debts. You think about Miguel's melted face, about the man floating in the drainage ditch, about every batch of crystal that left your hands and destroyed some stranger you'll never meet. The chemistry of regret is complex. There's no formula for it, no synthesis, no purification that can separate what you've done from what you've become. You fold the napkin carefully and put it in your pocket. Just like the first one, years ago. 3 months. That's enough time to choose. Whatever comes next, you made it here the same way you made everything else. One reaction at a time. One choice at a time. Until the choices stopped feeling like choices and started feeling like inevitability. And now, here you are. Chemist, cook, dead man walking. The coffee grows cold in your cup. The sunlight falls through the window. Somewhere in another country, someone you'll never know is grinding up your product and loading it into a pipe. The circle completes itself, over and over, forever, or until it breaks. You leave money on the table and walk out into the heat. The world looks exactly the same as it did an hour ago, but you're different now. You know the expiration date. If you made it this far, leave your thoughts in the comments, good or bad. It truly helps the channel grow. Hit like, subscribe for more content like this one, and take a look at the video on your screen that I think you'll really enjoy.